My name is June, and this is the story of how my husband betrayed me in the worst way possible, and how I exposed him using his own new girlfriend. I never thought my life would become a living storm of lies, secrets, and heartbreak. But sometimes life throws you into fire just to show you how strong you really are. Before everything collapsed, I believed I was living a peaceful, happy married life. I trusted my husband Ethan with every part of my soul. I believed he was loyal, honest, caring, and committed. But I was wrong. I was dangerously wrong. It all started one quiet evening when I returned home early from work. I remember feeling light-tired, but also excited to surprise him with dinner. I pushed open the door and called his name, but the house felt strangely cold and silent. I walked into the living room, and suddenly something caught my eye on the table. His phone. Unlocked. Screen glowing. And a message popped up from a name I had never seen before. "I miss you already, baby." My breath caught. My heart dropped. For a moment I froze, staring at the screen, trying to convince myself it was a misunderstanding. I opened the chat slowly, and every message felt like a knife. "Last night was perfect. She doesn't even suspect. You make me feel alive." My entire world shattered in seconds. I felt my legs shaking, but I didn't cry. Something inside me went silent, like a storm preparing to break. I put the phone back exactly where it was and walked to the kitchen, pretending nothing happened. When Ethan came home later, he greeted me casually, kissed my cheek like everything was normal. I looked into his eyes, and all I saw was a stranger. The man I loved for years had been lying to my face for months. That night I didn't confront him. Instead, I decided to listen, watch, and wait. I needed proof. I needed the truth. I needed control. So I started recording everything. His late nights, his sudden gym sessions, his secretive smiles, his suspicious messages. The more I watched, the more the truth burned. He was cheating. And not just cheating, he was deeply involved with another woman. A younger woman. Days passed with me silently gathering evidence. I felt hollow, but also sharper, stronger, more aware than ever. But then something unexpected happened. One afternoon, while Ethan was in the shower, his phone lit up again. This time with a message that changed everything. "I feel guilty. June seems like a good woman." My heart pounded. His girlfriend felt guilt? Why? Did she know about me? Did he lie to her too? I needed answers, so I did something bold. I messaged her back, pretending to be him. "We need to talk." She replied instantly. "Yes, please. I hate hiding like this." I asked her to meet at a cafe near our home. She agreed. When the day arrived, my hands trembled, but I walked into that cafe with quiet fire inside me. I found her sitting alone, looking nervous. She was young, beautiful, maybe 22, with innocent eyes that didn't match the betrayal I expected. I sat across from her. She stared at me, confused. I took a deep breath and said, "I'm June, Ethan's wife." Her face turned white. She didn't speak for several seconds, then whispered, "He told me you two were separated." I felt a sting, but also a strange relief, because I could see honesty in her eyes. She wasn't my enemy. She was another victim. And that was the moment everything changed. Because instead of fighting each other, we formed an alliance. We were both hurt, but we were about to turn all that pain into power. Together. My revenge wouldn't be loud, violent, or messy. It would be smart, precise, and unforgettable. And he would never see it coming. This was the beginning. The calm before the storm. The moment I realized I wasn't just a betrayed wife. I was the woman who would destroy his lies using the very person he betrayed me with. And this is where my plan for revenge truly began. I left the cafe that day with a strange mix of anger and clarity. The girl's name was Aria, and despite everything, I couldn't hate her. In fact, her pain mirrored mine. She kept apologizing over and over, telling me she had no idea Ethan was married. She told me he had shown her fake documents, fake messages, fake stories, just to convince her he was separated from me. Hearing that made something inside me snap. But not in the way you might expect. I didn't break down. I didn't scream. I became cold, calm, and calculated. For the first time, I saw Ethan exactly for who he was. A manipulator. A liar. A man who believed he could control two women at once without consequences. After Aria and I parted, I walked home slowly, letting the evening breeze cool my burning thoughts. I kept replaying her words, her expressions, her shock. She wasn't lying. And knowing that gave me a new kind of strength. When I entered the house, Ethan was sitting on the couch scrolling through his phone, probably texting her, unaware that I already knew everything. He looked up, smiled, and asked how my day was. I smiled back and said good. It amazed me how easily he lied, and it amazed me even more how easily I could now pretend. But pretending wasn't enough. I needed a plan. A plan that would not just expose him, but shatter his arrogance completely. So I spent the next few days quietly observing every detail of his routine. What time he left the house. When he took calls. How he behaved before going to see her. I noted everything. Meanwhile, Arya started sending me screenshots, evidence, recordings, anything that could help. The picture that formed was worse than I imagined. Ethan wasn't just cheating, he was promising her money, promising her a future, promising her things he never even gave me. He was planning a secret life while using us both for comfort and stability. One night, Arya messaged me saying he told her he was ready to finalize the separation papers, and she asked me if it was true. I felt anger rise, but I kept my word steady. I told her he's lying again. There are no papers. She replied, I want to help you. Tell me what to do. That was the moment I knew the universe had handed me the perfect weapon. Not revenge through anger. Revenge through truth. Through exposure. Through the same woman he thought he could manipulate. We decided to meet again. This time not to talk but to plan. I laid out everything carefully. Step 1 was gathering hard evidence. Step 2 was catching him in a lie he couldn't escape. Step 3 was exposing him in a way he would never forget. Arya listened closely, nodding with determination. She wanted justice too. She wanted answers. She wanted freedom from his lies as much as I did. Together we created a plan so simple yet so sharp it felt like a blade. The first part involved me pretending everything was fine between us. I cooked dinners, asked about his day, smiled at his jokes, even kissed him goodnight. I felt numb doing it, but I reminded myself of the end goal. Meanwhile, Arya kept talking to him, playing along just enough to make him believe. She was still the naive girl he had been using. But behind the scenes she was recording every call, saving every message, capturing every lie he told. And he told a lot of lies. He told her he loved her. He told her he didn't care about me anymore. He told her I was mentally unstable, and that I was the reason he needed someone like her. Hearing that made my blood freeze. But it also made my resolve stronger. He had crossed every line. And now he would face consequences he couldn't escape. When enough evidence was gathered, we moved to the second phase. This phase was risky because it required timing, precision, and acting. Arya agreed to meet him and tell him she was ready to move in with him. Ethan would obviously panic because he wasn't prepared for such commitment. Meanwhile, I planned to walk in at the exact moment their conversation hit its peak. Not to fight, not to scream, but to expose. Days later, Arya messaged me saying he wants to meet tomorrow. My heart pounded because this was it. Everything we planned, everything we endured, everything we discovered was about to collide. I prepared my phone, my recordings, my documents, everything needed to reveal the truth. That night, Ethan kissed my forehead and said he had a work meeting the next day. I almost laughed. If only he knew what was waiting for him. The next morning my hands trembled as I got ready, but my mind stayed firm. I wasn't just a betrayed wife anymore. I was a woman reclaiming control. And Ethan was about to face the reality he had built with his own lies. As I stepped outside and headed toward the cafe where they planned to meet, I whispered to myself, "This ends today." Because it was time for the mask to fall, I walked through the quiet hallway that evening, rehearsing what I would say to Lily, wondering whether she would ever see me as something other than a threat. My heart felt heavy, but hope still flickered inside me. I knocked on her door, softly at first, then again when she didn't answer. When she finally opened it, her eyes were red, like she had been crying for hours. It broke something in me to see her like that, because all I ever wanted was to protect her, even if she didn't believe it. "Can we talk?" I asked, trying to keep my voice steady despite the shaking inside me. She hesitated, glancing at the floor, then nodded just enough for me to step inside. Her room smelled like lavender and old notebooks, the kind filled with feelings she didn't trust anyone enough to say out loud. I sat on the edge of her bed while she stood by the window, arms crossed tightly, as if she needed to hold herself together. "Lily," I began, choosing each word carefully. I know you don't like me. And I know earning your trust won't happen overnight. But I need you to hear the truth. From me. Not from the lies your mind has created to protect itself. She turned slightly, her jaw tense. Why should I believe anything you say? She snapped. I swallowed. Because I've been where you are. Lost. Confused. Angry at the world for taking things away that I couldn't get back. Her eyes narrowed. Don't compare yourself to me. I nodded gently. I'm not. I'm only saying, I understand more than you think. The silence that followed wasn't comfortable, but it wasn't hostile either. It felt like standing at the edge of a cliff, waiting to see if the ground beneath us would collapse or hold. Your mom loved you, I whispered. Her expression cracked for a second, the pain slipping through the cracks before she forced it back down. You didn't know her, she said sharply. No, I replied softly. But I know what it feels like to lose someone you thought you'd have forever. I could see confusion flash across her face, like she wanted to be angry but didn't have the strength left. Lily, I continued. I'm not trying to replace her. I couldn't even if I tried. I just want to be someone you don't have to fight. She finally faced me, tears forming again, but this time she didn't hide them. Then why does it feel like you're taking everything? She whispered. I'm not, I said gently. But maybe you're afraid that loving me, or even accepting me, would betray her memory. Her breath caught, and I knew I had touched something fragile inside her. That's not true, she said, but her voice wavered. It's okay, I murmured. To love more than one person. It's okay to let people in. It doesn't erase anyone. It doesn't replace anyone. It just adds. She stared at me like she was seeing me for the first time, not as an enemy, but as a woman who was trying. A woman who cared. Why do you try so hard? She asked quietly. Because, I answered, feeling tears prick my own eyes. You're worth loving. Even when you hate me. Even when it hurts. She blinked quickly, and a tear slipped down her cheek. I don't hate you, she admitted in a shaky voice. I just don't know how to feel. That's okay, I said, stepping closer but giving her space to pull away if she needed. You don't have to know everything right now. We can take it slow. She didn't move away. That alone felt like a miracle. The sun outside dipped lower, casting soft orange light across her room. And for the first time, the space didn't feel like a battlefield. June, she said after a long pause. What truth were you talking about earlier? My breath froze. This was the moment I had been terrified of. The moment everything could shift. Either toward healing or toward destruction. The truth, I said carefully, is something your father wanted to tell you together. But I think you deserve to hear it from me first. Lily's eyes widened, fear mixing with curiosity. What truth? She whispered. My hands trembled slightly, but I forced myself to keep steady. Lily, I said, your mother didn't just pass away naturally. What happened to her was connected to something I lived through too. Her lips parted. What do you mean? I inhaled, preparing to open the door to a past I had locked away for years. A past that held the answer to why I understood her pain, and why she had every reason to be afraid. Before I tell you, I said, voice soft but firm, I need you to promise me you'll let me finish. No matter what. She swallowed. Okay, she whispered. I promise. I nodded. Good. Because once I tell you this, everything is going to look different. I felt my heart shaking as I drove toward Lily's school because everything inside me wanted peace, but everything outside was falling apart, and I didn't know if today would heal anything or destroy everything. When I reached the parking lot, I saw her sitting alone on the bench near the gate with her headphones on, and her face lost like she was searching for something she had never found before. I walked slowly toward her because I didn't want to scare her or make her think I was forcing myself into her world again. But the moment she looked up and saw me, something in her eyes softened like she wanted to run but at the same time wanted to stay. She removed her headphones and whispered, Did Dad really lie? The question hit my chest like a stone because she wasn't angry now. She was confused, hurt, betrayed, and I could see her trying to rearrange every memory she ever had of her father. I nodded gently and said, Yes, and I'm sorry you had to find out like this. She looked away and her voice cracked. I hated you for so long, And you were never the enemy. I sat beside her and didn't touch her because I knew she needed space. I simply whispered, I never wanted to replace your mother. I only wanted to protect all of us, including you. Her eyes filled with tears as she finally turned toward me. Why didn't you tell me before? I exhaled slowly because truth is heavy, and I said, because you would have blamed yourself. Children always do. For the first time, she didn't pull away from me. She didn't roll her eyes or shout. She didn't look disgusted or annoyed. Instead, she looked like a child trying to understand the world again. Then she surprised me. She leaned her head on my shoulder. A small, fragile moment. But after years of hatred, it felt like the sky itself had opened. After several minutes, she whispered, what do we do now? I swallowed because the real storm was still ahead. Now, I told her, we face the truth together. She nodded slowly. And for the first time since I entered her life, she didn't walk away from me. She walked with me. We drove home quietly. The house felt different now. Like every wall was listening, every shadow waiting for what came next. Her father was sitting in the living room, pretending everything was normal, pretending he had control. When he saw Lily with tears in her eyes, his face changed. He stood up quickly. What happened? Why are you crying? Lily didn't shout. She didn't accuse him the way I expected. She simply said one sentence. A sentence that froze the room. I know everything. His lips trembled. He looked at me, not with anger, not with guilt, but with fear. Real fear. He tried to defend himself immediately. June is twisting things. But Lily cut him off. She showed me the messages. I'm not stupid. He stared at her, and for the first time in many years, he realized he wasn't talking to a little girl anymore. He was facing someone who saw the truth. Someone who could no longer be manipulated. He stepped closer to her. Lily, I did it because I was stressed. It didn't mean anything. She stepped back. Cheating always means something. My heart pounded as I watched her stand up for herself. For me. For truth. He turned to me with anger because losing control made him dangerous. This is your fault. But Lily immediately stepped in front of me. Like a shield. Something she would have never done months ago. No. This is your fault. She loved you. She protected us. And you destroyed everything. He froze. He had never heard Lily speak to him like that. Then she whispered something I will never forget. Mom would be disappointed in you. That broke him. He sank onto the couch, covering his face, shaking. Lily walked toward me slowly. June, can I stay with you tonight? I don't want to be near him. My heart almost burst because those words meant she trusted me. She chose me. I nodded gently. Of course. You're safe with me. She held my hand. Her fingers were cold, shaky. But they were holding mine. Willingly. Later, in her room, she asked me softly, June, will you leave him? I swallowed because that question was heavier than anything so far. I don't know yet, I said honestly. But I won't let him hurt us again. She nodded and whispered, if you leave, I want to go with you. I didn't expect those words. And they changed everything. Because now it wasn't only my life. It was hers too. She finally looked into my eyes and said, I don't hate you anymore. I'm sorry. I hugged her. For the first time ever. She didn't pull away. She hugged me back like she had been needing it for years. This night changed everything. But we both knew. The biggest confrontation was still ahead. Because tomorrow, I would tell him my final decision. And nothing would ever be the same. I woke up early because today was the day everything would end or begin again. And the silence in the house felt heavier than ever, like the walls knew what I was about to do. Lily was still sleeping in the guest room, and seeing her safe and peaceful gave me a kind of courage I had never felt before, because for the first time I wasn't fighting alone. I walked into the living room, and found him sitting on the couch with his head in his hands like he hadn't slept at all. When he saw me, he stood up quickly and said my name like he was begging for a chance he had never earned. June, please, we can fix this. I looked at him without fear because the truth had already set me free. No, I said calmly. We can't fix what you broke on purpose. He stepped closer. It was a mistake. I stopped him with my hand. A mistake is when you forget something. Cheating is a choice. You chose to lie. You chose to hide. You chose to hurt your own daughter. He froze. His voice cracked. I love you. But I shook my head. No. You love control. You love comfort. But you never loved us enough to stay loyal. He tried again. Please don't leave. And this time I didn't whisper. I didn't hesitate. I didn't break. I'm leaving you. The room fell silent. He looked like he had been punched in the chest. But I had carried enough pain for both of us. I wasn't carrying him anymore. I continued. Lily is coming with me. She doesn't feel safe with you right now. His eyes widened. That's not fair. I stepped forward. What's not fair is making a child live in a house built on lies. He had no answer. Only silence. I walked to the guest room. Lily was awake, sitting on the bed, waiting, like she already knew. When she saw my face, she whispered, You're leaving, right? I nodded softly. Yes. And you can come with me. Only if you want to. She didn't hesitate. She stood up, grabbed her backpack, and whispered, I'm coming. When we walked toward the door, her father came running. Lily, please don't go. She turned around with tears in her eyes but strength in her voice. You broke our family. Not June. And I need to be with someone who actually cares. He reached out as if to stop her, but she stepped back into my arms. Like she finally knew where she belonged. We walked out of that house together. Two people who had been strangers for so long, finally choosing each other. As we reached the car, Lily whispered, June, thank you. I smiled softly. For what? For staying, even when I pushed you away. I held her hand. I stayed because I loved you, even when you didn't know it. We drove away from the place where everything had broken. But somewhere during that drive, we became a real family. A stronger one. A chosen one. A healed one. And that was the beginning of our new life. Thank you for listening to my story and for staying with me until the end, because this journey was painful and healing at the same time. And if you want more stories like this, then please make sure to like the video, share it with others, and subscribe to the channel, so you never miss another emotional story again.